Italian house. My grandparents raised me. We had very little money, but they owned their own home. They built their own home. They built their own furnace.
So they were immigrant first generation?
First generation from Italy. I think they landed here in 1902, 1903, something. And they lived to damn near 100 years old. And they made everything. I made soap with them when I was a baby. We made our own wine. We made our own beer. We made our own sausages. We made everything ourselves. I mean, they used to go to the market to buy maybe coffee, some cheese, lettuce, maybe, because the lettuce is hard to grow early in the season. But the rest we had jarred. Pears we jarred. We'd have a pear tree. We had a fig tree. We had grapes. We were more self-reliant. You know, it was just like a little farm, but everything from the backyard. It was a small backyard, not long, not big, but it was enough to feed our little family. That's all we needed. And the water was still good in those days. It was a great growing up like that. It was wonderful, it really was. And then it was off to Vietnam. Okay. I landed in Chu Lai, Vietnam when I was 17 and a half years old. A bit surprised. We got 6.5 months of training in the Marines. Weaponry. We went to jungle warfare school in Okinawa for 4 weeks, and then a beach landing in Chu Lai. And you woke up very quickly to what was really going on. Number one, we had no business being there. Number two, you knew you were there to protect yourself. We weren't fighting for anybody. We were fighting for one reason, to get the hell out of there in one piece. And we were a bunch of scared kids running around the jungle shooting gooks. That's all it was. There wasn't any war or anything. That's all bullshit. Well, the food we had out of cans, we didn't have anything to eat. We were Marines on outposts, running night ambushes and, you know, squad ambushes out in the middle of the jungles where there was nothing to eat. Cans, sea rats, made in 1942. There were no mess halls, there was nothing. We had tents on a little compound, dug in bunkers, and that's how we lived. And it wasn't just the weather was outrageous, the heat was outrageous. Those things you never got used to. I had malaria. I was wounded twice, 2 Purple Hearts. It was you were scared perpetually for a year and a half. 100% fear. Fear of everything. Anything and everything. It got easier as the time went on. But it was a fear that you operated only on one level, fear. That was it. Didn't matter how many people you killed or whatever you did.
One breath at a time.
One breath at a time. They retaliated against us, we retaliated against them. And it was vicious sometimes, really. And you could easily turn into the animal. The animal was always there. But the animal was there to protect me. And you became that animal. You had to survive. And I always seemed to get the great job of being point man. Because I was ultra cautious, I guess, which probably got me out of there alive. But you learn certain ways of operating in hostile environments. You just do. It just becomes natural in a way. And but a lot of kids didn't make it, you know. And why they didn't make it, what they didn't do is different than I did. It's by chance. Nobody really knows. But to be we weren't good soldiers. We were there on one mission, S&D operations, search and destroy. Didn't matter what was there, we killed it. Didn't matter. But you never, you knew you weren't in Kansas anymore. It was different. And I was a young kid, young kid. Angry, a little bit confused, not in a very good state. I spent 6 months in the States and they shipped me back to the Philippines, fighting Hucks in the Philippines. Hucks were the communist forces in the Philippines. And I was much more comfortable in the jungles than I was on the streets of New York. That's for sure. This is me in the jungle. A lot more comfortable than New York City.
Why is that?
It's just, you're there alive. We call it the risk business. Every day you go through your life and you don't put it on the line. You don't risk it. That's a day wasted. You don't feel alive. There's nothing there that keeps you going. That's the thing that keeps me going. In the jungle, you got it 24/7. You always have it. Always there. And, people say, maybe it's PTSD from Vietnam, maybe it's this, maybe it's that. To me, that's life. If I don't feel it, I might as well lay down and die. I never get over it. But it was a lot of fun. And I spent about 10 years in the Philippines. Maybe a little longer. Everything in the jungle is hostile. The weather, the animals, anything about it, it's hostile.
The water, the food.
Everything is hostile. You have nothing, so you have to be really prepared. You got to be. We run RTSs every time we go out, reverse time schedules. Okay, we want to know when I get off that boat, I'm back on land with my crew. That's all we cared about. We didn't care about anything else. But you get into situations where you find people that are devastated by earthquakes, by tsunamis, by mudslides, by all types of things.
Poverty.
You're just there. So you're forced to help the people. You can't do anything else. You bag bodies for days. You bring medicine. You bring morphine. You bring antibiotics. You bring drugs. Any kind of thing. Blankets, food, anything to help them.
So would you say that medicine is definitely on the top of the list?
Absolutely. Medicine more than guns. We had guns in the Philippines on our expedition to protect ourselves. Not really from the people, from the animals. I mean, you had 20-foot alligators come out of the ocean and grab you. I mean, you got to be prepared to kill them. You got to be prepared with something because they're going to run you over. And the medics. We bring in 2 medics just to treat people. You have to have that. You've got to have it. A field medic is the most important thing in all survival. You've got to have it. You don't have that, that gun's not going to do you any good. Being able to exist in it. You're almost comfortable in it. You almost thrive in it because that's the thing that generates you. It gets your blood going. It makes it possible. And then there's only 2 things you got. Faith and persistence. That I'm going to get out of here. One thing to get in the hole, that's going to be faith. One thing to get out of that hole is going to be persistence. And you learn that. That's the thing that keeps you going. You've got to have it. You don't have it, screw it. Might as well go shoot yourself in the head. About 135 to date. South America, Africa. Africa, I won't go back. But Mozambique at that time was beautiful. Madagascar was great. I guess just about all over the world. Certain, you know, Russian countries I missed. I even got a couple of them. Sarajevo, I was having a great time.
So you were in Sarajevo during the war, right?
Oh yeah, there were bombs going all over. It's great. I spent a very short time there, about a day and a half. Did my job, did my op, got the kids out. Reverse time schedule. They've been doing this from the time of emperors 3,000 years ago. When the emperor was born, the ministers and the intellectuals around him would plan his death all the way in reverse to the time of his birth. So they knew everything that was going to happen to him. Nothing outside of the RTS, the reverse time schedule, could ever affect him, could never touch him. Everything was there to make sure that he was safe. 100%. He was the emperor, right? So, in military terms, the RTSs became very important. Delta, SEALs, Special Forces, whatever. Every op they went on, boom, RTS. They wanted those guys to come back. And it gives you a sense of, I know what's going to happen because I've already been there. Mm-hmm. I'm going to Chicago. I plan it from Chicago back to New York because I've been there already. I know what's around that bend. I know what's over that mountain. I know that lake is there. I know that river is there. Before I even reach it, in my mind, I've already been there. So it gives you a sense, a little sense of security that you can see that I'm protected, that I'm not just out here in the middle of this jungle. In your mind, you've already been backwards. You've already seen it. Even if you haven't seen it, you already, in your mind, have seen it. You pictured it. That can keep you alive. We've always used it, and it's always worked. I never had a guy die on me in 15 years on our operations in Southeast Asia. That's a big deal. I'm really proud of it. It's important, man. And the people feel like they're being protected too. They don't even know they're on an RTS. Mm-hmm. A couple of the guys do. But that's it. But it gives you a sense you have something to rely on. You're not just alone there. Mm-hmm. You don't know where to go. So when the shit hits the fan and a lot of firing is going on, you already know where your fallback is. You already know your flank. You know where to go. It's automatic. You don't have to think about it. It just happens because you've already done it. Mm-hmm. Big, big, big advantage. I didn't say fuck too many times, did I?
No.
Okay.
Fuck is fine anyway.